This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English, episode number 76, where I speak to Dan the Man about teamwork. Yes, it sounds boring, but you know, it's rock and roll teamwork, so nothing is boring here. Anyway, there is lots and lots of rock and roll vocabulary today. I counted and there's more than 20. But you know, this vocabulary comes out naturally. We never plan for any of this to come out. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. Today, you are lucky because there is more. How can you remember all of this vocabulary? Good question. You can go to the website, rockandrollenglish.com. It's all written down. Make a note of it. Do the quiz and start using it, baby. Anyway, here is the conversation with me and Dan the Man. Before we get to the conversation, you may notice a small surprise, a musical surprise. Enjoy. Dan the Man, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, Dan, especially after listening to that music there.
Yeah?
Do you know anything about that music?
Not really, no.
This is Dan just playing it cool, as always. So when you play it cool, that means like being modest. Notice it's playing it cool and not being cool, because he's definitely not cool.
Yeah, that's never happened.
Anyway, that music was from Dan the Man with his electric guitar. I mean, Can you get more rock and roll than that?
Yeah. You actually quite like it as well, don't you? It's the first time I'd ever heard anything nice from you to me.
It's always the first time with you, Dan. Every week it's the first time this, it's the first time this. It's not the first time. I've said it loads of times. And that was mega. So mega is just like a stupid way to say fantastic. Because Dan the Man, I think we've spoken about this before, was in a band. Hey, Dan.
Yeah. My mum loved it.
I went to one of his gigs as well. So like gig is like a concert. I think I've spoken about this before. There were about 3 people there. But how long were you in the band, Dan?
I don't know, a year.
Oh yeah.
Before the sex, drugs, and rock and roll took their toll.
Exactly. So took their toll means like it sort of became a problem. So much of a problem that he had to give up the rock and roll and become a freelance human being. So, you know.
Yeah. And that's starting to take its toll as well, to be honest.
Well, I can imagine. Anyway, Dan, before we get into the show, how do we start this show?
With a review.
Do you think we have a review?
Yes.
Incorrect, Dan.
Seriously?
We had a bloody good run. So like a good run means like a good period. Like review after review. We were, you know, up to our nuts in guts with reviews, which is just a ridiculous way to say a lot of reviews. But now no reviews. So now we are back to the point of asking people for reviews.
Begging.
But, you know, we're not ashamed, Dan. We will beg. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it is possible there are some reviews. I just can't be asked to look for them on iTunes because I have to look in all the languages. It takes a long time. And remember, can't be asked is that I haven't got the energy. I'm too tired. Anyway, do you know what today's show is about, Dan?
No, because I asked before the show and you wouldn't tell me.
Exactly. Well, I thought that considering you made that, you know, mega piece of music and, you know, we work as a team, Dan, I thought we could do it about teamwork, okay?
Okay. I thought you were going to wanted us to do a duet there for a second.
No, well, we could do that maybe another time, Dan, okay? I'm sure that would be a big hit. So like a big sort of hit is something that's successful. Anyway, so teamwork, I think, has got a bit of a bad name. Many people don't like it because it's associated with like CV talk. You know, the classic line on a CV is, you know, I can work in a team or individually.
Yeah.
But we're going to look at it in more of a rock and roll way, Dan, okay?
Or there's no me in team. There's no I in team.
There's no me.
Because
Yes.
there is a me. Yeah.
Yes. So no I in team. I was going to mention that later, Dan, but you beat me to it. It's a common thing to say because the word team, T-E-A-M, doesn't have an I in it. So there's no I in team. Correct, though, Dan. Okay.
Thank you.
So I've got some facts about teamwork here, just so you know, we can hopefully after this, Dan, we will work better as a team.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is the mere presence of other people can boost your performance. Very strange word, that, the mere presence. What does that mean?
It just means having someone around can boost performance.
Dictionary Dan is not on top form today. That's a shit definition, Dan.
Can we stop with the dictionary Dan as well? I don't want that taken off.
So like taking off is to sort of, let's say, become successful. Like when you say the mere presence, you're just emphasizing how small it is. So there's a social psychologist called Floyd Allport that showed a group of people doing the same task actually do better than just, doing the tasks individually with no one else around. Yeah. So what about you, Dan? Do you work better with other people in the room?
Yeah.
Yeah, you seem sure.
Well,
because like for me, on the other hand, it drives me fucking mental. If I can just see and hear people doing stuff with their pen, like someone will be tapping the table, like turning the pages. It just drives me fucking mental.
This highlights another problem. You're not focused. I can focus on the task at hand and not be distracted by someone next to me.
Sure, nice vocabulary there as well. The task at hand, the task literally in your hand. What you are doing. I disagree with that anyway. And the next point is a familiar team has benefits like a home stadium. Like when you play football. Well, not you, like professional footballers, when they play at home, they have like a slight advantage. And this was done on a Harvard study. This is, in my opinion, mental, where they got heart surgeons to do operations in the hospital where they work and then in another hospital. And when they did it in the other hospital, it didn't go so well. That's
quite a risk, isn't it?
Exactly, Dan. Why ask heart surgeons to do this study? Why not just ask, I don't know, someone that works at the supermarket? Yeah. But they didn't say how badly these went, but they said the operations didn't go well. I mean, I'm reading between the lines here.
Someone died.
If heart surgery doesn't go well, I mean, what else happens?
Yeah, that's pretty poor.
Well, exactly. So, if you ever have an operation, Dan, just make sure you ask the doctor if that's the hospital where he normally works.
That's the first thing I'm going to ask.
Or she normally works,
Yeah, you sexist.
Women are doctors as well. I respect women and I respect men, okay?
Yeah.
Anyway, so a lesson to draw from this, not to draw on a piece of paper, is to take from this, that means, is that if you take a star performer out of their usual environment, Dan, it will affect their performance. Question for you. Do you think that's why when we do podcasts in the same room, they're shit?
Are you blaming me or?
No, I'm saying, we're both star performers, Dan. You're in your star performance place in your room. I'm in my star performance place in my room. Put us together in a different room, fucking all hell breaks loose, which means it's chaos.
I don't think so, because we've done a podcast in the room I normally record them before, and it was fucking shit. So I think it's just the fact
maybe it's this
that we're in
thing
the same
going back
room.
to the other one of in the same room. Yeah, see, you told me you work better with people in the same room.
No, it's
already.
not that.
You have lied,
Listen,
Dan. You are not consistent, as we spoke about
last
week.
I like to do things by order. Okay, I like a routine. It keeps me focused.
Sure.
And as when I remember you used to play football, and you would not walk onto the pitch without putting your right foot first.
What is that? That is absolute bollocks. Utter bollocks, which we've had before. Utter complete bollocks. Just not true.
You used to be quite superstitious when you played football.
I can't even remember one thing, Dan.
Well, that's one of them.
Well, that's not one of them. That's just completely made up, like a completely invented thing. Anyway, let's get to the next point before you just continue spouting bollocks. So when you spout, that's when you talk. Basically. So a good team needs a balance of extroverts and introverts. Okay, so extroverts are outgoing people, introverts are not. So what are you, Dan? Extrovert or introvert?
Introvert, like you.
Oh, what are you talking about? I'm mega extrovert.
Yeah. You don't leave the house.
Yeah, well, no. To be honest, even this description of people, if someone describes themselves to me as like, "Oh, hi, yeah, I'm extrovert," I just think you are a twat. So twat is remember a strong way to say idiot. Yeah. Anyone that basically describes their character to me, I just think, look, mate.
Unless they listen to RnR English, in which case we love you.
Yeah, we love you, but just don't describe your character. Okay,
yeah,
just say you listen to rock.
Starting a sentence with the thing about me is.
Oh yeah. Oh God, fantastic. Another fact here is that teams perform better when they include men and women, Dan. Okay, we've got no women in the RnR English team, so
yeah. Well, yeah, it's terrible, really, isn't it?
Well, remember, we are not sexist, okay? We respect women and everything like that, okay? Mm-hmm. But, we do need to get some women in the team. In fact, Dan, I think we do have some now.
Oh, yes. Do we?
Look, see, that he pretended for a minute he actually knew what I was talking about. Like, oh, yeah, and then actually, shit, I don't know what he's talking about. I will have to ask him now.
You're trying to set me up to look like a fool. That's the problem.
Well, that's my mission in life, Dan. So when he says to set me up there, it means like put him in a position where he looks like an idiot. Anyway, yes, we do have a woman on the team now. Her name is Joanna, and we have another guy called Dimitri, and they are helping us with transcripts, Dan.
Yeah, I know.
Well, now you do. So this is big news for RnR English, where it's sort of a team transcript, let's say. So everyone can get involved. There are 3-minute sections where you can write your part of the description. I will put a link on Facebook and on the website where you can get in touch with them because, they're taking care of it, Dan. This is teamwork.
Mm-hmm. That would be a great way to improve your English.
Yeah, just look how enthusiastic Dan is about this teamwork, okay? It's a good job that enthusiasm's not on this list, Dan. And when I say it's a good job, that's a very British term I found out recently. Americans don't say that. It means it's lucky that. If you say it's a good job that, it means it's lucky that.
You don't inspire me. That's the problem.
Sure.
I think you're not a leader.
Oh, I'm a leader. And one of the things I read about leaders, it didn't make it into the list because it wasn't interesting enough, was that teams do not need leaders.
What?
Yes, apparently, it says no leaders means a better team, okay? This is someone from another university that had nothing better to do than
at the
do
bottom
this
of the
study.
league. At the bottom of the league,
What do you mean, the league?
Well, the teams that have no leaders will be doing well at the bottom of the league. If you want to win the title, you need a leader.
Well, exactly. And luckily, we have a leader. Hey, Dan, after the referendum, who won that again?
Hey, I'm voting for a second referendum, okay?
The thing that makes me laugh about this study, though, again, it was someone from Harvard University, obviously with nothing better to do than make a stupid study, says no leaders means better teams. However, you need a manager. You think, well, a manager is a leader.
Yeah.
And then he says, no, but that's not the same. He actually puts a definition of a team manager. So it says a team manager typically involves setting priorities and performance objectives and reviewing performance. That is a leader, okay?
Yeah.
I can tell you that, mate.
Yeah, sounds like a twat.
He is. And it says here that best teams communicate outside of formal meetings as well, Dan. Generally, how do people do that in England?
At the pub.
Yes, exactly. When I worked at the bank, on my first Friday, everyone said, okay, let's go to the pub at lunchtime. I remember I drank 4 pints of beer in an hour and was absolutely shit-faced when I got back to work. Because I didn't eat in the lunch, fuck eating. Absolutely shit-faced after 4 pints. What does shit-faced mean, Dan?
Beyond drunk. Like, you can't even walk.
Yeah, in fact, I was so drunk that when I went to sit back at my computer... do you know when you don't touch the computer for like 5 minutes and it switches off?
Yeah.
I was sitting in front of my computer and then I fell asleep and then I woke up and my computer had switched itself off.
Hang on, so you had these 4 pints during 1 hour?
Yeah, a Friday lunchtime. And my manager took me.
How, what, so you had a beer every 15 minutes?
Yes, that's why I was shit-faced, Dan.
And yeah, okay, they sacked you not long after, didn't they?
They didn't sack me, Dan. I left. Okay, I quit.
Okay.
I said I'm not having this shit. When I say I'm not having this, I mean I'm not sort of tolerating this. Let's say. So now we're on to my favourite one. Okay, so it says bonding releases oxytocin. I don't know what this thing is. This oxytocin. But what does bonding mean, Dan?
When people get on well with each other.
Yeah, get on well. Enjoy each other's company, let's say. And it says this oxytocin or whatever is a brain chemical that is released during a sexual orgasm. So I don't know, basically, if they're saying, just go and have sex with people in your team. Or...
When me and you go for a beer, do you have a sexual orgasm?
Yeah, Dan, I'm just looking at you. Daniel Craig, as someone else has called him. I just look at you and have a sexual orgasm. But yeah, I mean, I'm confused by that one. Well, because it just says people tend to be happier when they are in a team. And it's the sexual orgasm thing just makes me
creeps me out a bit, actually.
Yeah, nice rock and roll vocabulary there again. Dan sort of creeps me out. It's sort of a strange thing, almost scares me. Don't be scared though, Dan. I'm here for you, okay?
Mm-hmm. I think you'd better describe that as makes me uncomfortable. And
Uncomfortable. Oh, I'm not Dictionary Dan, am I? That's the thing.
Oh, fuck's sake.
So 2 more quick points. The first one, Dan, is that conflicts are essential. Okay, so
Oh, we have those. We have those.
But that just shows we're a strong team, boy. Okay,
yeah.
We're strong. Okay, and obviously I'm the leader of the team, so when there is a conflict, I will resolve it. And the last one is that mixed age teams are better than sort of everyone having the same age, which is also good because we're mixed age because you're much older than me. So that's another good point.
Yeah, by 3 months.
Well, that's a long time, Dan, okay? 90 days. And although I said there are only 2 more, there is one more that says you need to have the ability to compromise, okay? Where it says you just have to sometimes bite the bullet and accept it. That maybe you have to accept the instructions. What does bite the bullet mean, Dictionary Dan?
Well, it means exactly what you said, to accept something.
Well, in fact, who needs Dictionary Dan, hey?
Yeah. Stop. Oh, fuck's sake. Why don't you call me something cool? Like,
Okay. Let's have a compromise now, Dan. Dan the man.
Dan the man. Okay, yeah. I accept.
Okay, that is teamwork at its very best, people.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, what do you mean, thank you? It was teamwork, Dan. It was the 2 of us. I wasn't complimenting you. I was complimenting us.
But I think we need to get a nickname for you. We tried the whole Mart the Fart thing, but that went down like a lead balloon, didn't it?
So that it didn't go down very well, like a lead balloon that would fall to the floor. Anyway, you can think about that, Dan, for the next episode, okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay, sure.
Okay, we'll see you then.
Yeah, all right. I'll speak to you later.
See you later. Oh, there's that music again from Dan the Man. He actually did that, okay? This is not a joke. Dan the Man plays an electric guitar and made that, okay? He is actually cool. Anyway, let's look at some of that rock and roll vocabulary. And speaking of cool, we had when I said that Dan was trying to play it cool when he said he didn't know anything about the music. We said in the podcast it's being modest, which in that context it was. It's just like, to try and be calm, to play it cool. We had the word gig, which is the same as concert. And Dan was telling us about how sex, drugs and rock and roll took their toll. So when something takes its toll, it sort of becomes a problem and becomes damaging, let's say. And we had a good run with the reviews because we had a good run, a good period where, we had review, and then nothing. So remember, if you want to leave a review, you know what to do. And if you don't know what to do, send me a message. We had Can't Be Asked again. We've had that many times, which is just, I can't be bothered. I haven't got the energy. I don't want to do it. And we had There's No I in team, which is a lovely expression. Because remember, the word team, if you write it, does not have an I in it. But it does have me in it. So often for a joke, you can say to someone, there's no I in team. And they will say, yes, but there is a me. Because there is an M and there is an E. We had take off when Dan said he didn't want Dictionary Dan to take off, for it to become normal, let's say, and for people to start using it. Normally means to become successful. Like, I hope one day this podcast will really take off and, everyone in the world will listen to Rock and Roll English. We have to hope. Dan, again, with some nice rock and roll vocabulary when he said that he is focused on the task at hand. Basically, exactly what it says, the task you are doing. Remember this exact term. Don't try and change it with like the man at hand. It's specifically used for the task. On the task at hand. Boom. We had the word draw in a sort of different context when I said a lesson to draw from this is, so a lesson to take. I don't know why we use draw in this context, but it's very common. And we had another very nice expression, which I used this time, when I said, if you put me and Dan in the same room, all hell breaks loose. Like it's chaos. But basically hell, which is the opposite of heaven, will, overtake the room. All hell breaks loose. We had utter bollocks again. I generally say this to Dan when he makes stuff up, which is the next one. If you make something up, you invent it. You normally invent a lie or a story, like Dan did. So because the story was made up, I said it was utter bollocks, complete rubbish, not true. And I said that he was spouting bollocks. So when you spout, it means sort of talking, but in a bad way. So he's spouting rubbish. We had the word twat, which is, remember, not a nice word. A just strong way to say idiot, let's say. But don't say it to, your mum or your dad. The most rock and roll piece of vocabulary today, I am the winner because I said it, was when I said that it's a good job that enthusiasm isn't on the list. A very common British term that, which basically means it's lucky that. So if I say it's lucky that enthusiasm isn't on the list, or it's a good job enthusiasm isn't on the list, it's the same, okay? But it's very, very common. It's got nothing to do with jobs or work. It just means exactly that. It's lucky that. We had shit-faced, which is, remember, very, very drunk. We also had when I said, I'm not having this shit. So if you say, I'm not having it, it means I'm not going to put up with it. I'm not going to tolerate it. And we had the word bond, like bonding, which is like when you become friends. Often people say team bonding sessions, like generally at work. They say, let's go to the pub for some team bonding, like to become better friends, to talk, let's say. Dan said that it creeps him out a bit, which is something that's, if something creeps you out, it makes you like uncomfortable, makes you feel strange. And we also had the term to bite the bullet. So if you bite the bullet, you just have to accept it, even if you don't like it. Bite that bullet. And then Dan, when he was talking about my nickname, Mart the Fart, he said it went down like a lead balloon. Which I suppose is the opposite of take off. If something takes off, it becomes successful. If it doesn't, you can say it goes down like a lead balloon, like a balloon of metal will go down and not become successful. Anyway, as I said, all of that rock and roll vocabulary is on the website, rockandrollenglish.com. Go there, play around with it and use it. Remember, use it. Anyway, I will see you again or speak to you again next Monday. In the meantime, just keep on rocking, baby.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.